takut ketinggalan dari teman-teman yang sudah lebih dulu belajar.
Dulu aku baru sadar kalau pemrograman web itu lumayan kompleks.
Latar belakang aku dari non-IT kadang-kadang membuat aku bertanya juga, kira-kira aku bisa survive nggak ya?
Matematikanya itu sangat sulit. Pertama-tama saya belajar di teknik informatika.
Keterbatasan ekonomi keluarga yang membuat aku bertanya, apa aku bisa?
Dari jurusan Geofisika Universitas Indonesia.
Dari jurusan Teknik Informatika Universitas Pajajaran.
Dari jurusan Manajemen Universitas Brawijaya.
Saya dari jurusan Teknik Informatika Universitas Telkom.
Dari jurusan Teknik Informatika Universitas Negeri Malang.
Meski kuliah di jurusan Geofisika, aku tertarik belajar IT karena saat ini digitalisasi sudah mulai banyak diterapkan di berbagai bidang termasuk geofisika.
Dulu di semester 3, aku ada mata kuliah namanya Object Oriented Programming, dan situ aku belajar bahasa Java. Seniorku bilang, kalau kamu suka OOP dan kamu suka Java, ada baiknya kalau kamu coba develop Android.
Karena salah satu drama Korea yang bernama Startup, terus aku merasa, kayaknya seru juga ya belajar tentang wawasan teknologi.
Aku tertarik ke machine learning ini karena aku punya visi bahwa kita itu akan terbantu dengan komputer.
Aku ingin belajar IT karena sejak kecil aku suka main komputer yang dibelikan ibu, dan ibu dukung penuh cita-citaku karena beliau ingin masa depan aku yang lebih baik.
Aku pilih Bangkit karena Bangkit merangkul orang-orang non-IT seperti aku dan memberi ruang kepada perempuan untuk sama unggulnya seperti laki-laki.
Aku pilih belajar di Bangkit karena program ini diadain Google dan industri keren lainnya seperti Goto dan Traveloka.
Aku ikut Bangkit karena pengen belajar ingin membuat startup seperti Nam Dosan dan juga Sodalmi di K-Drama Startup.
Aku pilih belajar di Bangkit karena aku melihat alumni-alumni lulusan dari Bangkit itu sangat terkenal di industri-industri Indonesia sekarang.
Aku ikut Bangkit karena Bangkit punya program bursa kerja untuk semua lulusannya.
Di Bangkit, aku mendapat pengalaman untuk membuat sebuah aplikasi bernama Dress On Me, di mana Dress On Me ini merupakan sebuah aplikasi untuk mencoba pakaian secara digital.
Aku dapat ilmu pengetahuan Android yang komprehensif. Selain itu, ada kelas bahasa Inggris dan juga soft skills yang sangat membantu dalam aku berkembang di dunia profesional.
Setelah Bangkit, aku dapat banyak, mulai dari timku masuk top 50 Capstone Project, kemudian juga aku lulus dengan predikat distinction.
Aku mendapatkan banyak kenalan baru, mulai dari teman-temanku hingga sampai expert-expert yang di industri saat ini.
Setelah ikut Bangkit, aku dapat ilmu Android yang bermanfaat dan juga pekerjaan full-time dari Bangkit Career Fair.
Kini, Dress On Me berhasil mendapatkan dana inkubasi sebesar 140 juta rupiah dari Google dan Dikti.
Aku jadi software development engineer intern di Dana Indonesia.
Sekarang aku jadi advisory associate di PricewaterhouseCoopers Indonesia.
Sekarang kesibukanku adalah bersama teman-temanku membangun startup yang bernama Kerjago.
Sekarang aku jadi Android developer di PT Prima Vista Solusi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the best career session. Especially for Bangkit 2020. How are you guys? Please keep some energy in the chat box ya. Alright. And type in the box in the YouTube chat. Alright. Please give in your human voice. Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the best career session, especially for Bangkit 2023 cohort. Who are you guys? I hope you are fine, yeah. Please give some energy in the chat box. Anyway, where do you come from? And type in the chat box also, yeah. I'm really waiting for you. Give some minutes. Okay. Thank you so much for spending the time attending this paper system to discuss storytelling and how to make an effective presentation. It's vulnerable to me to pay an interactive in this session. Before we dive in, let's introduce myself. My name is Mudratin Said, and you can call me Nur or Adin. I'm a Bangkit 2022 graduate, and currently I'm a Bangkit 2023 mentor in cloud computing. Honestly, I do not come from an IT background, but I am from a nursing major, so I need to learn that because I am passionate about that. And of course, I want to make it for making more benefit for us. Alright. I thought this is today's topic is quite important, yes, because we have to understand how to tell and present correctly and effectively, especially but not limited to the company project that we have faced in this. Before we start the session, I want to remind you if you have any questions, you can directly ask in the chat box in the YouTube section. Verticals, please mix the format as like ISD. ISD student ID plus underscore your name and then score your question. Wait, my voice is the question will not be answered if you have to don't use the format. I have an sales paper to share material parts without any longer. Let's welcome our first paper session today. It's Marcel, project manager, senior project manager in Travelka. Hello Kak, Marcel, how are you Kak?
Hello, Master. I'm good.
Okay.
But I think like your voice is a bit breaking. It's very hard for us to hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry for the technical. Thanks a lot for taking your time to share the knowledge so we can gain some insight from you. Of course, we apologize for the taking your time, especially in your project schedule. Okay, let's start this presentation. Thank you, session. Marcel, the stage is yours.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mas Nur. So hi everyone. Welcome to the guest speaker session. So I'm going to share a bit about storyline. Let me introduce myself a bit. My name is Marcellius. You can call me Marcel. I'm a SPM in Traveloka right now. And today I'm going to share a bit about how to do storylining and how to make an effective presentation. So yeah, I think first of all, like why making a presentation is very important in our life, in our daily work, and basically in every day in our life. If we have a good ideas, but if we cannot convey it to the other stakeholders or the other people, it will not be very. It will be a bit useless. So in this, if we have like a good problem solving skills, we know how to do like a work plan, we know how to do analysis and generate a lot of ideas. But if we cannot communicate it to the other people, it will be a bit of useless. So what we are going to learn today, what I'm going to share a bit today is about communication, how we can tell a logical and compelling story so that your ideas can be bought in by the other stakeholders. So I really want you to remember this pyramid principle. This is a Minto pyramid principle. If you want to read more about this, this is come from a book called Pyramid Principle: Logic in Writing and Thinking Logic in Writing and Thinking by Barbara Minto. So basically, this is like the core of the how you want to do your presentation, the logic tree of your presentation. So in here, you can see at the top of the pyramid, you'll have the key message. The key message is the things that you want to share to the audience. What are the key message? What are the main ideas that you want to share? You want to present to your audience, and then you want to back up the key message with key arguments and implication. So basically, what is the backing of the key message, why you believe that this is the key message that you want to deliver, And then each of the key arguments can be supported further by the facts, evidence, and insights. So this is how it looks like in the way of we are communicating. We start with the key message. Mostly we will only focus on one key message, and then we will have like more key arguments and implications on explaining or supporting the key message. And then below it will be the supporting facts, evidence, and insights. So I think this is like a bit of abstract, so we can start see how it looks like in the real life. Yeah. So this is like the example. You want to map your story in a logic tree. There's one key message, and then you have like key argument or implication 1, key argument and implication 2, and key argument and implication 3. In each key argument and implication, you'll have like supporting insights or evidence or any facts that support the key argument. So the way that you want to create the key arguments, it need to be mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Or maybe some of you have ever heard about MISI. This is like something that people like to say, oh, you need to create like a MISI storyline. You need to create like a MISI presentation. What is actually a MISI? So MISI is a mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive, meaning that if we break down the argument, separate the argument 1 from argument 2, it can stand by its own. This is called a mutually exclusive. So argument 1 is not really related to argument 2. And the same thing, argument 2 is not really related to the argument 3. But if we combine this all, argument 1, 2, 3, it will support the key message. That's the second part, the collectively exhaustive. So that's how you want to create like a logic tree, so that you have a clear logic, you have a clear key message supported by the key arguments, and then beyond that you have like supported by the insights. I think let's start with a simple example. Yeah, this is like an example. I think this is more like a daily life example. So if the key message that you want to share is we need to replace our car with Model X, or maybe like in the other example is we need to replace our phone with Model X. Why? That's the key message that you want to share. What are the key arguments? We created three key arguments here. The first one is our car is already old. The second one is our car is costly and unreliable. And the third one is Model X is a better alternative. So if we want to go deeper into each of the arguments, you have like supporting facts. For example, if our car is old, is that it has a moldy windshield, it has some broken lamps, and then there's no Bluetooth connection in the radio. You still need to hear like using just a simple radio. The second key argument is our car is costly and unreliable because of the high fuel consumption, high maintenance costs, and it frequently goes breakdown. And the third one is the Model X. Model X is a better alternative because Model X win the Car of the Year award. It has a complete features, very sophisticated features, and Model X is the best. So if you look into this, the key argument 1 and key argument 2 and key argument 3 can be differentiated one to another. We can state key argument 1 as its own argument without really related to the key argument 3 or key argument 2. But if we combine these three all into one logic tree, it will all support the key message up here. Basically, we need to replace our car with Model X. So I think how to practice doing the logic tree, it doesn't necessarily need to be done in only in your work or only in like a certain presentation. You can actually do this in our daily lives, in a simple, basic lives. One of the example is that when we are, for example, if we want to talk to we are discussing with our friends where to go for hangout tomorrow, then you can create like a logic tree that is that, oh, okay, we want to go to this mall A because one, the mall A has a lot of shopping, has a lot of complete shopping, complete stores. The second one, the mall A is accessible, and the third one, the mall A price, or not really price, it's more like the price, the price of the things in mall A is relatively cheap. So if you can say that each of the key arguments is not really related to each other, but these key arguments supporting that why we want to go to the mall A. So that's how the logic tree will work. And by doing this, it will be very helpful when you have like a key message. You have like the supporting key arguments there, and then each of the argument can be even supported further by the facts or evidence. So now we have already had a logic tree. How we want to create or translate this logic tree into a presentation. So this logic tree will become your body of your story. This is like the key message of your presentation. Okay, this is like the key arguments become the body of your story, and then you will have one opening at the front, which is you want to explain what is the problem or the situation, and then the body, which is the key argument, and then the closing is the resolution or impact. So the key message here, we usually put it as part of the opening and also as part of the closing, so that you can, usually it will be more emphasized on the closing part, because the key message is usually become an action items, which will become the resolution or the impact. So this is like, let's see how this will look like in the in real life. Yeah. So one of the example is this example of a story outline. So let's imagine that there's one company that want to expand its business, a healthy tech business, to address their stagnant growth. Then the recommendation is that the company X should enter emerging market A. Then you want to create a why. Why does we create this recommendation? Why the company X should enter the emerging market A? We need to have like a key arguments that will support this statement, and then at the closing part, you will repeat again the key message, which is the company X should enter the market A with expected annual growth of X%. So let's imagine this way. One of the example here is that a market A is attractive with a growing premium customer base, and then low entry barriers and favorable economic climate limit entry risks, and absence of a clear market leader offers an opportunity to establish a leading market position. So if we go back to the initial example of going to the mall, right? So in the opening side, when we explain it to our friends, oh, I think we should go to this mall A. Then you say, because of mall A has a lot of stores, we can visit. There's a lot of fashion stores. We can also look into the gadgets. There's also have a cinemas. We can watch movies there. They have a lot of restaurants, and then it's very accessible. It's only like 15 minutes away from our place here. It's not there's a lot of public transport that we can use. It's very easy to go there, and then the price of the stuff that is sold in the mall A is very cheap, because of like we can see like a very cheap brand in the mall. Then you repeat again the closing part, which is, oh, the company X should enter a market A. Oh, sorry. The for this example is that, okay, let's go to the mall A because of let's go to the mall A now before it closes, maybe something like that. So this is how we want to create our presentation. This is how we want to create the storyline. What we call storyline is that basically how the presentation will flow from the opening until the closing. Then after that, if we have already a good storyline, it doesn't necessarily that it ends there. What we need to know further is who will be the audience. So it's also an important part because you want to differentiate the details of your presentation depending on the audience. So why it is important to know about the audience? Because for them, they want to easily digest that what we are saying, to be clear on the recommendation action plan, and to have confidence of the validity of the material. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that the content is structured well with a clear logic, can be easily understood. The logic can be easily understood. The action plans are clear and concise so that the audience can easily get what is the key message or what is the recommendation action plan, and the information is convincing and backed up by strong logic. So this is the third part, will be more like the facts or the evidence or the insights that you use to back up the key message, the key arguments, and then all of the key arguments will back up the key message. So how will it differ from one type of audience to another type of audience? You might have a lot of type of audience. The first one is the who are my audience. If we are working in a work life, then you will see a different level of stakeholders, starting from the highest one, the board of directors, our CEO, chief operating officer, chief marketing officer. There's like the vice president, and then there's just a unit meeting managers, or just in terms of internal team meeting, or even like the frontline sales force. How it will differ from one to another is that, for if you talk to the board of the directors, we don't want to spend our time, or we don't want to explain too much on the details, because as a board of directors, what they want to understand is more like how your ideas will help the business. So you will talk more about the strategic, why these ideas is good for the business, why they need to put some investment in the ideas, something like that. Then if we start talking to the unit meeting or the managers, you might want to balance from a more strategic to more about the operational part. You need to get their buy-in on the strategic why, but also you want to share how. It's not really just about okay, we want to do this because of this, but there is no clear explanation on how to do this, because they will be the one who will help you to check whether the ideas is practical and easily implemented or not. And if you go further to the lower part here, to the frontline sales force, then the discussion will be more about the operational part. So you go to the maybe if you are working with the factory workers, what you want to explain to the factory workers is not about why you want to do this. They might be used to follow an SOP, so that what you want to do is to create an SOP, standard operating procedure, for them to follow, and then explain to them, teach them on how to do these new initiatives. That's the first part. Who are my audience? The second part is what is the occasion? What is the objective of this meeting? It will be different on the level of the details, the length, and the language, meaning that the conceptual or action oriented. So one of the example is that if you want to have big update, if you want to have like a big update meeting, for example, in the company, you will have like a big company town hall. Then you cannot consume all of the 1 hour only for you, but usually they will have multiple speakers, and then each of the speakers will only have maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So what are the key messages that you want to share in this 5 to 10 minutes? You want to adjust your presentation to fit this length of the length of the time. And because you only have a limited time, that will leave you with a very high level of details. You cannot go too much on the details because it will spend too much time. You will waste a lot of time, and it might reach you with ending up with no time. The time is already ended, and you haven't really explained it. You haven't completed your explanation. And the third one is, what is the goals? What is the outcome that you expect from the presentation? I think this is one of the most important one, because you will have a different type of presentation depending on the goal. The first one is the inform. If you want to just give an update, there might be no clear action item, just giving an update. So what you want to do is that summarizing the update, summarizing the information that you want to present, and then give like the supporting facts of the summary. Or the second one is persuade and convincing. If you want to get buy-in of your ideas, then you need to create a compelling story on why you want to do this, why these ideas matter, why the audience need to get the audience wants to invest in your ideas. So you want to create more like something that is enticing for them. You need to know, you need to understand what is the audience, what they are looking for, and then how you can answer their concern, or how you can answer their questions there. The third one is a simulate discussion. I think if you work later in daily work, you will find some cases, some events or some meetings called a brainstorming session. A brainstorming session is more like a session in which we are just throwing ideas, we are trying to exploring ideas to solve a certain problem. Then if you want to create a presentation on a brainstorming session, you want to simulate a discussion, you need to create an interactive discussion rather than just a one-way presentation. How you can create interactive with all of the participants, so that the participants can participate in the discussion. They want to share their ideas. Another one is the call for actions or agree on the next steps. This is usually important in the project management, in the project management meetings. Usually in in a certain project, we'll have like a certain checkpoints, and then you want to have clear action items or call for actions on each of the checkpoint. So for example, you have like an 8-week project, and then you set a weekly checkpoint. In each of the checkpoint, you already have like a certain milestones that you need to agree, that you have already agreed with. And then in each of the checkpoint, you ask all of the meetings participant on the updates on the milestones. If everything goes well, then usually everything is on track, then the next step will be very easy. Just continue what we have already done, we have already planned. But what if there are some blockers that we cannot achieve, that make us or delay the progress of the project, and we ended up not able to meeting the milestone in the checkpoint one? Then you need to have a discussion on what will be the next step. You need to get the commitment from the meeting participants, from the stakeholders on, okay, how we want to go back to the course, rather than just stopping in the rather than just stopping on the information. So this is like how it will be different from one goal of the meeting to another goal of the meeting. Then sorry, I think this is not updated, so yeah. Maybe another simple information is, don't make your presentation, how you want to make a good presentation is about simplicity. So you don't want to put too much information in one slide. That will be very confusing to the user or to the audience. What you want to do is to create what you want to do is to have one key message in each of the slide, and then all of the information in the slide need to back up all of the need to back up the key message in the slide. Why you want to do that is because not everyone has a good focus attention, or if you would put too much information on the slide, it will create a cognitive load, a very heavy cognitive load for the audience. They will be wondering, okay, which part of the slide that I need to take focus on, which part of the slide that I need to put more focus, and which part of the slide that we need to, in a way, we can actually ignore. So rather than putting everything into one slide, what you want to do is to have like a very clear and simple slides with a very clear key message. So yeah, I think this some of the practical tips, or like what kind of questions that you need to think about when you're building your presentation. Again, we have already talked about the first one. We talk about the story logic, the logic tree, and then we talk about the audience and the objectives of the meeting. So the first one is the objectives. What is the output that I want to get from this meeting, and why is this important? Why I want to be to present in this meeting? It can be differed, as I mentioned. It can be differed for when we want to get, when we want to just give an information, and when we want to just when we want to get a buy-in, or when we want to get an input from the from the stakeholders. So you might get a lot of different type of meetings later on, and you can see the difference here. One of the example is that if we have bi-weekly team meetings, for me, we internally in my daily work, we have a bi-weekly team meetings in which everyone will get or will share their update to each other. In this bi-weekly team meeting, we will inform each other on what is the progress of the project. So instead of we usually prepare a summary of the information, and then we already have a key the evidence, or like the facts, the key arguments of each of the information. But if we then we will present it in a way of like, okay, this is like the progress of project A, this is like the details. If you want to go into get the details, we can go later on. And then you continue to the project of the progress B. What is the summary of the progress of project B, progress of project C, and etc. But if we go into more like, for example, a working or a brainstorming session, if you want to have, okay, let's create, if you want to create a timeline of a project A, then you will focus more on the operational part. You will create a presentation. Okay, you come to the meeting, you present, this is like the objective, this is like the project that you want to do. We have like, for example, 8 weeks. Let's define what is the milestone of each of the week. Then the kind of information, the kind of presentation that you prepare will be very different. Another example is when you want to give an update to your, for example, head of department. When the head of department, you have like a monthly meeting with the head of department, but it's not only your team, but it will be also across the teams. Maybe like you will meet the other teams in there, and each of the team lead will need to present. Then in this kind of situation, you need to be very careful, because you only have a limited time. You need to be very careful to only give like a very brief update, but you want to give like a very meaningful update, meaning that the update or like the progress of the project that is very important for the head of department. Yeah. And then as part of it is also what questions they ask. It's the second part. What question might they ask, so that you want to somewhat prepare when there is a question, you already have like a backing information that you can easily pull out. So one of the example is that if you create, okay, this is like, one of the example is that if you want to give an update, or like in the meeting, you give an update, okay, project A runs very well, everything is on track. And then the audience want to understand how is it something that we can actually even faster, is it possible for us to even push faster than the timeline. And then you want to create pull out the timeline, the details of the timeline, and then share based on the rest of the items that need to be done. I think we are not able to make it faster, but or you can also give, okay, based on the remaining items that we need to do, I think it is very possible for us to make it faster. So you need to be prepared on what kind of questions that they might ask, so that when you are when you get that question, you already know how to answer it, and you have the supporting data to answer it. And then the last one, this is, I think it's more like a very important one, content. Have I structured the information to maximize its impact? Have I really give the key message? Is it very clear? The key message is very clear. It is mentioned very directly from from the presentation. Will the information easily understood by the audience? The second one is it clear, accessible, and logically transparent, so that everyone can easily understand what ideas or what message that you're sharing? Have I told a compelling story? Do you create an excitement in the audience so that they want to listen to you? They're excited with what you're sharing. And thus, my recommendations or conclusions are backed by credible information. If they are asking more details about it, are you confident to share? Okay, are you confident to share that, to say that this number is already accurate, this information is already accurate? Yeah. So I think let's go back again to the what I've already just explained. I want you to remember this logic tree of the presentation. So let's start with the key message, and then we have like key arguments, implications, and supporting facts. You want to give like the key message first in terms of presenting. You give the key message first as part of the problem or the situation. What is the context? And then give a brief of the recommendation or the key message on what is the thing that you want to do. What's the action plan? And then give the supporting key arguments below it. Argument A supported by insight, facts or evidence A 1, 2, 3. Arguments B supported by another facts or insights 4, 5, 6, and this and etc. And then as a closing line, you want to recap everything, you want to summarize everything, and then give, okay, this is like the final the final recommendation for the action item. Then you want to know about the audience, you want to be aware of the objective, and then how you can create a good presentation that will fit the audience. I think one key message from me, one practical note for me is that this is something that you can also practice. This is not something that you can easily get from the first time creating a presentation and then you get everything done. This is something that you can do over and over, practice over and over, and also observe from the others. You can really see on how the other people create the presentation. You can see how they structure the presentation, how they create the key message, how they share their key message. Is it at the front, at the back? How they can create a compelling story, something like that. And then you want to try this kind of what they are doing in your presentation as well. So yeah, I think that's all from me. Maybe going back to Mas Nur. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mas Marcel, for your presentation. Okay, let's move on to the Q&A section. We have you. Hello. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much,
Hello.
Marcel, for your presentation.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to the Q&A section.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have a lot of questions here. So the first question is from Georgian MG. How should we respond to unexpected question after doing the presentation? How about this?
Yeah. Okay, so if we get an unexpected question, if you haven't prepared about this, usually you can give first one. I think you need to be honest. If you don't really know the answers, then you can say that yeah, you don't really have the answers. But instead of just stopping there, you need to give like what is the action item to for you to get back to them. So what you can do is that, oh, unfortunately I don't have the information, or I don't have the answer with me right now, but I can check with the numbers, or I can check, I can find more information first after the meeting, and I will get back to you after the meeting. But please ensure that you really get back to them. You can ask for the context. Maybe if it's more like an internal working team, then you can just go back to your team member later on and say, okay, this is like the questions that you asked before, so that the answers, yeah, they eventually get the answers. So if you don't really know the question, the answers on the question, you don't really have to uh, answer it there. You can somewhat park it first, do the exercise, like check the information first, and then get back to the questionnaire before after the presentation.
All right, thank you, Kak. So if you uh, have unexpected question to this question, so we can relate it to the letter. Okay, the next question is from what is
How to know if our story is effective if no one asks question? Because we don't know if our presentation is teaching or is it. Okay, yeah.
okay.
Thank
The
you,
next
Cliff.
question is from okay. How to know if our story is effective if no one asks question? Before, because we don't know if our presentation is engaging or not, or is too much info, so they're not getting the key points.
Yeah. Okay, I think for me, two tips that I will share. The first one, if it's an offline meeting, if you can see the participant or like the audience, you can see from their face expression, or you can see from their yeah, overall sitting posture, for example. You can really see like if someone is really listening to you, giving some acknowledgement, maybe just giving some nodding, or giving something like, um, yeah, you can really see like if they agree with you, something like that. If they are putting some face expression, or they're just mind like wandering out of your, basically not listening to your presentation. So if that happens, what you want to do, you need to uh, find out like why. I think the easiest way is you can easily check with the participant, like make a stop and then ask, okay, let me pause it here, is there any question first, so that it kind of try to get back the attention from all of the participant going back to you. That's if you during the presentation on how you want to know if the story is effective, and basically to understand if the presentation is engaging or not. The second part, what you can do better as a preparation is that before you go into the presentation or before you go into the meeting, you practice it first. You can go to your friends, you can go to the your, for example, if in your work, then you can go to your manager, to your colleague, try to present it to them first, and then get input from them. Basically, you can directly ask question. Okay, I need your input about this presentation that I've already created. Is the story is logical enough? Are you able to get the message that I share from the presentation? And then ask for inputs. I think most of the, especially for your line managers, they will be very happy to give an inputs on your presentation and give pointing out if there is some missing items or missing logic from your presentation. Okay, Mas Nur, I think that's it. Can you hear me, Mas?
Okay, thank you, Kak, for your answer. Okay, the next one is from this one, from Holikul Anam Ade Kurniati. What are the differences between the traditional approach of construction presentation and using of the storylining approach? How it is, Kak?
I think if we do like I'm not really sure about my understanding on the traditional approach, but if I can say that if we have a traditional approach, we only give information through like basically just giving the information without a very clear storyline. Basically, what are the difference is more like if you create a storylining approach, your presentation, you can say that your presentation only have like one key message, which is like the key message that you want to share from the presentation, and then you build the supporting facts, the logic, everything around the key message here. Instead of just doing a traditional approach, it's more like just giving information through, for example, like because of the order, maybe like alphabetical order, something like that. There might be a missing of a key message here. So with the storylining approach, you can create what you need to prepare first is what are the key messages that you want to share, what are the key message that you want to ensure that the audience get it. Then you try to build everything, build the presentation around it. Hope this answers your question. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the answer, Kak. Answer. Okay, the next one is from which one is? From Firza Aditya Vincent. When it comes to the audience attention, what are the strategies that are effective to get the most attention out of audience? It's more necessary with the notion story. What do you think?
Okay. So again, for this one, it depends on the audience. I think I've mentioned a bit about you need to understand who will be the audience here. So, for example, if you want to, if you are presenting to the head of department, you don't want to give too much humor, because the how you want to get the audience attention is just giving like a very clear update. Maybe like what will be very interesting for them is if you get a good results, a good business results, that will generate an audience attention. But if you are presenting to, for example, if you are presenting to a group of factory line worker, for example, you want to try to get their attention first. Then this is like a typical, maybe like a male, older age of males, who usually likes humor. Then humor will be very useful for you to get their attention, to somewhat build the connection with the audience. How about emotional story? Emotional story can also be can be useful tools to get the audience attention if the participant is usually like a more like a female, something that is more like usually can be who is usually emotional compared to those who is not not really really bought in by the emotional story. So I think again it depends on the audience. You need to get the you need to get to know your audience first, at least who you'll be talking to, who you'll be your basically presenting to, and then from there you can try to build like like what kind of strategy that you want to create. Master is okay. So I think while waiting for Masner to come back, I think he's having a connection problem. Then let's go to the next question. What are some common mistakes to avoid during presentation and how to overcome them? One mistake that I will still remember for now is not really knowing the audience. I think I remember there's one of the key meetings in the one of my first key meetings during my professional career. uh, I was asked by my manager to present to the head of the team. Basically, it's more like head of department. And then I create this story. I create the presentation with a very long details. And then in the middle of the I present A, B, C, D, E, a lot of details. And then in the middle of the presentation, I kind of get paused. He kind of stopped me, and then he asked, "Okay, can you give me like the summary in or 2 or 3 lines, and then what kind of the action item that you need to get?" So this is like a very this is like the very common mistakes that everyone get, is that you try to give too much information or too little information to your audience. So I think getting to know the audience and try to create the yeah try to create the information. Sorry, getting to know your audience and trying to really understand what they are looking for is critical for you to get the to presentation. Another common mistakes to avoid is when you have two conflicting information in one slide or maybe in the whole presentation. So for example, if you present something about your business progress, so at the overall summary you said, oh, everything is good, but later on in one of the details you mentioned that, oh, we are actually lagging in certain metrics. So there is a conflicting statement here. You don't want this to happen because it will confuse the user, and also it will somewhat make you not really credible, not become it will ruin your credibility. So what you can do is you want to check everything, ensuring that all of the information in the presentation or the slides that you created is all aligned. There is no conflicting information in the presentation. Yeah, I think those two are the common mistakes. Or maybe also, if you are sharing a presentation about numbers, please sanity check or double check your numbers, ensuring that you have already updated with the newest number. You have already updated, and you have already checked the accuracy of the number. You don't want to, for example, if you try to create some kind of a calculation and then you present it, and the audience can see, I think the number doesn't make sense, and then when you go into the details, you and the audience and you basically find a wrong calculation. You don't want to for that to happen because it will ruin your credibility. So, okay, next, what strategies can be employed to present technical content to a non-technical audience in a comprehensible manner? Yeah, I think for this one, maybe three. I would say three tips. The first one is don't say too much of the technical terms. So, for example, if you're talking about technical terms, you try to you try to explain it first before you explain it. Okay, this is some kind of a technical terms that we are going to share. Explain it a bit so that they have at least some kind of rough ideas what you're talking about. The second tip is as much as possible, you try to create an analogy to your daily life. Or sorry, not really daily life. It's more like create an analogy to a simpler analogy that you can um, easily explain, that can be easily understood by a common non-technical people. So maybe one of the example case, if you want to explain, or maybe something like this. The last tips. The last tip is more like try to explain practice of explaining this to children, 4 years or 5 year children who is know nothing. For example, is that if maybe your niece or nephew asks you what you're doing on your daily life, and if you're doing a lot of technical stuff, you cannot really explain all of the technical things to them. They won't understand a thing. So what you can do to them is try to give an analogy or like a simplification of the information that you want to give. So one of the example that you want to that I've usually use is that if someone asks me about how backend engineers and front end engineer works, how does it usually works? How do you explain to non-technical people what do you mean by backend and what do you mean by front end? So how I usually explain this is that if backend is more like if it's a car, backend will be the one who will prepare the machine and all of the accessories inside the car, while front end will be the one who create the basically the interior of the car and the exterior of the car, the one that you can actually see. So that I think usually like people will get, okay, backend will be the one who will be working at the back, more like building the logic behind it, building the basically the core the core processor behind it, while front end will be the one who built like the user interface. Even user interface is already too technical, so we need to find like some kind of the words that is simple enough. I think that's the tips. I think try to find a simple analogy from a daily life to when explaining these terms.
Okay. Next one is what is the strategy?
We have already answered this, yeah. So I
Okay, the
think
next one is from William Nehemiah. What should we do if we already prepare for a question that will make audience disappointed because of the progress but of that moment we plan to answer it? How about this one?
okay. Okay, so I think for this part, it's more like about your confidence and your how you want to manage the how for you to be calm in the presentation. So you have already prepared the question, and then you kind of be a bit of panic when it's being asked, and then you just have you just what you forget everything that you have already prepared, right? So for me, the tips is how to be calm in the presentation, and then how you want to be calm. I think the first one is to practice. So you know that you have like a big meeting or a big presentation tomorrow, then you want to spend your time today to practice. try to explain, try to uh, give the answers more over and over. Try to practice just in front of the mirror or maybe in front of your friends and colleagues so that you can easily easily answers the question without any, yeah, automatically. The second thing that you can do, I think for this one is that if you are not really presenting offline, or even offline can also be done, is that like take a small notes with you and put the key points that you want to share in that the small notes. So if I for this, for example, right, if I will present through an online meeting, I usually have like a notes on the side part of my screen, so that if someone asks me some things and then I forget, I can quickly look into the notes there. And if we are meeting in a, it's not really like if we are meeting just in the room, you can also like do quick check in your laptop or do quick check in your notebook, the key information that you want to share. So just put the information handy, basically just put the information on a place that you can easily get, easily get the information, and then just give it to the, yeah, so that it will be very helpful to when you forget, you can just look into it and then share it, answer the questions.
Okay, thank you, Kak. The next one, maybe it hopefully answered. Okay, the next one is from Argivator. Based on your experience, how do you effectively conclude your presentation in a compelling way that reinforce your main message and leave a lasting impression? Thank you. How about
Yeah.
you, Kak?
Yeah, so for this one, I usually create a summary, prepare like the summary, and then create 2 to 3 lines of summary, or three bullet points of the summary, and then recap this at the end of the presentation. So I usually do it like this. If it's something a meeting, okay, before we conclude the meeting, I want to let me summarize it first. So yeah, for example, is that if you're talking about a certain the next step of the, if the meeting is to get the next step of the a certain project, then you want to create like a summary of what you have just discussed, the key points of the discussion, and what is the next step. So let me summarize it. The first one, what we have already discussed for today, we have two or three key points that we have already discussed. Point A, B, C, we have already agreed on A. Point B, we have already agreed on this and this. Then for the next step is that we want to go to this item number C, something like that. Or if the presentation about informing the informing the audience on what to do, then you want to repeat again the having like a clear, a very simple jargon or a very simple key message will be very useful. You want to repeat again, okay, let me recap what we have already discussed today. One is that the key message, you mentioned again about the key message. So for example, to me, like for me today is that, one, you need to create the logic story using the pyramid principle. You need to create a logical story. Two, you need to know about the audience. And three, you need to know about the objective or like the outcome that you expect from the meeting. So that you have like this summary at the bottom. And then yeah, I think in terms of like how to leave a lasting impression is how you can really explain it in an energetic or in more like a very positive manner, so that everyone can really remember, everyone can remember what you're sharing. Another tips is also you can create a simple abbreviation. I mean, you try to create what does it called, like a singkatan, I would say, that will kind of this abbreviation will be the, you can easily break down into the key message that you want to share, like a motto, something like that. So for example, I couldn't really remember in the example here, but yeah, it's more like how you want to create something that is easily remembered by the participants. Oh, something like this, MISI. This is like a abbreviation of the mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. So if you just put it like mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, everybody will forget after the meeting. But if you say MISI, please remember MECE, then everyone might get what is MISI, and they will remember, okay, this is MISI, even though they might forget what is the what is the actual terms of MISI.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Or maybe it's gonna uh, have a lot of the varieties of presentation, so we can doing a more effective in the presentation. Okay, and then we can also using a jargon for our presentation to give it a lasting impression. Okay, thank you. So there are no comments again in the YouTube section. If you have any question, you can directly type in the chat box in the YouTube. Uh, so we can uh, tell this tell show your question in this YouTube. Okay, okay, okay. There, Nadia. Nadia, what are some tips for effectively managing time during presentation from to avoid exceeding the allocated duration? What about this?
Okay, so the first one, again, it will be like a practicing. You, at least the simplest one is you don't need to really present, but you just read through and somewhat prepare it in your head, what kind of the key message that you want to explain, and then time it until the end of the presentation. Will this leave? How long does it take? Is it enough with the allocated duration or not? That's the first one. Yeah, basically you can also practice, really practice. So you kind of put like a timer and then present it to the, yeah, just practice it. Just practice presenting it to basically in the mirror, and then you put the timer and then you see how long does it take. The second one, effectively managing time during presentation is also to have a time check during the presentation. So you can see like your, maybe keep your phones near you, or keep the like a timer. Basically, have like a timer so that if you know that you're already lagging in the middle of the time, then you want to speed up a bit so that you can complete everything on time. So another tips of managing time is you want to create. I think another one is to create the presentation into smaller parts. This will also very helpful in for you to allocate. For example, if you have like 1 hour or 30 minutes to present some ideas, then you want to give an update on, for example, 3 or 4 points. Then you want to split this 30 minutes or 1 hour into 3 or 4 areas. Then you kind of time it. So for example, if you have 30 minutes time, and then you want to give three key ideas, 3 point of topics to be discussed, then you want to ensure that each point of discussion will have like 10 minutes discussion. So you go to the first point, and then you kind of see like do a quick time check. Oh, it's already past 10 minutes. How can I somewhat pause it a bit or conclude the discussion, and then move to the second part. that's but what if the in the presentation it's more like something that's fluid interaction, there's a lot of discussion happen. What you can do is you can also to say to them is that say to the audience that okay, I think we are running out of time, because of if we don't conclude the discussion here, we'll have no time to discuss the other points if you feel that the other points is this as important as the first point. So you can say that okay, let's park the discussion here and continue after the meeting. But if you feel that oh, the actually the first point is the important one, the second and the third point can be eventually like not really that important to be discussed, then you can continue with the first point. So it depends on the situation. There is no like a really one answer for all. It's more like how you want to, how you, what kind of topic or what kind of output that you want to get from the discussion. Then that will be impacting a lot on how you want to manage the time allocation on the presentation.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the answer, Kak. So we can use the timers for splitting the time, so we can getting know what the time that we use, so we can use not exceeding the allotted duration that we have. So we can listen in the tepat waktu. Okay, the next one, there are no question again in the YouTube chat box. So maybe we can discussing about the target audience. Maybe we should so the target audience is most different. So if we have a presentation for child, so we must present in the fun way. So if we present in the adult, so we have to make it adjustment, so the presentation is gonna be make sense for them. Okay, maybe there are no question again. So oh yes, from Angga Sulistyangga, what is the key message or takeaway I want to my audience to remember that and upon after my presentation, so that will be the main impression after the presentation. How it's
I think yeah, this is like what is the key message or takeaway? Basically, this is the objective of the presentation. What is the? It depends on what kind of information that you want to give on the audience. So, for example, if you present something to get, if you're pitching your ideas, right? Maybe if you're pitching ideas, you want to create key message is that why your ideas is good, and yeah, why your ideas is good and why they should choose your ideas. There may be like one key message. Another example is that if you want to share, your presentation is about sharing a project update, for example. If you give a presentation about the project update, then you want to give the summary of okay, this is like the project update and this is the next step of the project. That will be the key message. So yeah, I think that will be. It depends. It really depends on what kind of objective or what kind of outcome that you want to get after the presentation ends. Then that will be the main impression after the presentation.
okay. Thank you. Also, we can make some summary for the takeaway from for the, so they can remember an action towards my our presentation. Okay, the next one is from, what is this? From Reynat Matthew Yaputra. Okay, since will have our caption presentation, what are your suggestions to step up our caption presentation in terms of storylining and effective presentation? How about this
So I think the first one is you want to create I believe if you create a capstone presentation, is that capstone is the final project that you want to give, basically the final project of Bangkit. Then if you want to step up the capstone presentation, is that you kind of give a summary of what is your capstone project is about, so that even without go into the details, the audience can easily understand, okay, this is like the capstone, uh, your project is about, what is your project, what your project is about, even in the very beginning and of the discussion. And then after that, you can also need to create, like providing some kind of providing like a supporting information, a very complete information or facts or evidence about more like the details of the capstone project, and then close it up with basically the final, the summary, which is like, again, you mentioned again about what's the capstone, uh, the project is about. So I think it depends on the stage of the presentation here. If you're pitching about your capstone project, um, basically it's not really about the progress update about the project. Then you want to give like why you do this capstone project, why does it matter, and then also like what kind of a recommendation or what kind of a output that you deliver from this capstone. I think those two will be the biggest things that basically the audience want to know on from the capstone presentation. Yeah. So I think if I want to summarize these questions, suggestion to step up the capstone presentation is don't spend too much details on the details of your capstone. I know that you have put a lot of hard work on doing the work, but instead of presenting that, it's more like focusing on why you do this and what is the impact, what is the output. Then you want to keep the all of the details of the what you have been done as the facts of it, or as the evidence, as the supporting information.
All right, thank you, Kak. So we must prepare the presentation, and we can do the presentation in effective ways. Okay. So how about the attitude? Kak? How about the attitude? Are it's have an impression too or not? How about this? Kak?
How
About
about what
the
attitude?
attitude, yes, attitude.
Okay, it's more like how you want. I think the first one, you want to be your voice must be loud and clear so that everyone can easily understand what you're saying. You can also learn to put some intonation in in the way of communicating, so that it's not monotonous. It's not just one tone, A B C D, something like that. It will be very boring. So you need to be like that kind of intonation and loud and clear. Also, you can also use your body language. So don't be too strict. Don't be too like just freeze like this, but be more welcoming, be more engaging using your body language. I think those are the tips to have that more like an engaging presentation, engaging discussion. Oh, another one is about your posture. Basically it's part of the body language. If you're not really energetic, you already sharing the meeting like in not really energetic way, you're already tired, you already seem tired, everyone will be not really excited to see you. But if you start with very positive, very energetic posture, everyone will be excited to see. I think he's very exciting. He's very exciting to for us to see, for us to listen to.
All right, thank you, Kak. Okay, the next one is from what is this? Raisa MP. It is a work and Like if we use our own language style in presentation. For an example, I have this habit explaining this to the audience, just like explaining it to my close friend. How about this?
Yeah, I think I'll separate this question, or the way I answered this question, I'll separate it into two. The first one is about the language style, and the second one, it's more like the communication style. While the second one is more about the diction, or like the vocabulary that you use when explain the things. So I'll start with the second part, actually, the what is the vocabulary that you use. I think for this one, um, whether it is it a lot and polite if you use not slang vocabulary, or like not formal vocabulary, it depends on the audience. If it's a formal meeting, or if it's like a professional meeting, you don't want to use too much of uh, not formal vocabulary. For example, is that if you use like I think for now there's a lot of Indonesian words, Indonesian slang words, like what is it? I'm not really familiar with this, but yeah, basically that's kind of daily words that is only known. There is no in the dictionary. Please don't use that. I think for that one, it's better to keep a vocabulary that is known, or that is available in the dictionary. That's the vocabulary part. But in terms of the communication style, in terms of like how you want to explain your ideas, it is okay and it is polite if you use your own language style when explaining to the audience, like explaining it to your close friends. So as long as you don't really as long as you don't really use a very improper words, it's still fine. It's not really that you have to create. It doesn't require to give a presentation in a very formal manner. As long as the information is clear, the audience can get what you are trying to convey, then it's all fine. But yeah, I think for professional, in the professional meetings, I would recommend. It's not really a recommend. I would suggest you to not using the improper word. But if it's more like a simple word, something that a more daily basic word, but it's still part of the dictionary, it's still fine. Don't use too much jargon, or use too much slang words in the presentation.
Okay, thanks for the answer. So we must conditional, right? If we were in the business presentation, so we must adjust to the language that we use, so we can effectively present to the right people in the effective way. Okay, there are question again from what is this? From Renat Patoga. For this destination, will incorporating our own experience facing the problem that solved by our product have a big impact on conveying the problem of the audience. How about this?
Yep. Yeah, I think for this part, I would say yes. Because why I say yes, incorporating our own experience facing the problem that's solved by our product have a big impact, because you're really you're showing like an empathy here when building like your project, or building your product. So instead of just trying to build something, build a product that is looks cool, or maybe something that is sounds cool, but you really come from the problem, it's really a big maybe it will be better if it's actually being faced by a lot of people, either you and also people around you, so that you know that this is a real life, real problem in our daily lives. And then this will be a very strong reasoning, or a very strong rationale on why you want to solve this problem, because I can really relate into this problem. I also experienced this problem, and that's why I want to kind of solve this problem by building this product. So yeah, I think for me personally, I would say that yes, this is like a very good way to present it, because you kind of show your empathy, that you really feel the experience of having facing this problem.
Okay, thank you so much for the uh, answers. And there are still one question in chat from, what is this? Matty Helvina. What are some strategies for delivering a memorable and impactful opening and closing in presentation?
Yeah. So I think for this part there will be two things I would say. The first one is you try to understand, again going back to the audience, what are the audience is looking for. Then the strategies is that you try to give the information or give the key message that is relevant to the audience. So for example, like this, if you want to um, if you're presenting to mothers, for example, then you want to give a topic or something that is talking about the child, for example, how to yeah, if you're uh, talking to mothers, and then you give materials about how to grow a child, how to nurture a child, then if you can create like a very simple, a very clear key message on the way or tips and trick to nurture a child, that will be very memorable for these mothers. But if you deliver these topics to the fathers, they won't listen to you. If you go to the fathers, maybe like they will care more about their hobbies, for example, like cars or video games, for example, something like that. So the first one is to know the audience. The second strategist on delivering memorable and impactful opening is to create, I would say it's create the jargon, or create the abbreviation that is easily remembered by the audience, so that you can keep repeating the key message, or keep repeating the line, the sentences, so that if it's something that is not, you need to make sure that it's not that long, so that it can easily be memorized by the audience. So you keep repeating it again and again, and then they will remember. Oh, this is something that yeah, this is something that is mentioned during the presentation, and then they will remember it easily. Oh, maybe one notes about the audience, right? For me personally, to have a memorable or impactful opening or closing, or basically a memorable and impactful presentation, is when I can relate with what the speaker is talking about. So this is something that if I can really see, if I can really feel like, oh, I've also experienced the same things that the speaker is talking about, it will create a more memory in my side, in my brain. So this is something that you can also need to know when you are getting to know your audience, what they are looking for, what's their experience. If you can really empathize with them and relate with them, it is most likely that you can create a memorable and impactful presentation for them.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Kak. So one of the point is if we can repeat once more again in our presentation, so the audience will more remember what we will say. Okay, okay, Kak. Maybe the question is the last question on this session. This is the last question for the lesson. Maybe from Kak Marcel have a closing statement.
So
So
yeah, I
first.
think the closing statement from me will be to remember three things. From yeah, basically when you're creating a presentation, there is no right or wrong in giving a presentation, but how to make it more effective. Three things that I want you to remember is to remember about the content, how to make it logical, how you can create a logical storyline, making it easy to understand. The second one is the audience. Know your audience. Know what they are looking for. Know what information is important for them. And the third one is know what is the goals of the meetings, or what is the goal of the presentation. What do you expect to get from the presentation? And then the last one is just practicing. This won't be for me personally, I'm still trying to improve my presentation and over. So keep practicing this over and over, and you'll get better and better in the making a presentation later. Yeah, I think that's all, Nur.
Okay, Kak, thank you. So we can must practice over and over again. So for me, maybe just keep learning and never stop learning. So we can get spirit in all days. Okay. Okay, thank you guys for attending this session. Hopefully this is can adding your knowledge and gaining so much insights. So it may be beneficial for yourself, especially for uh, uh, facing this caption project. So thank you and have a great day. Thank you, Kak. Thank you, Kak.
Okay,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you everyone for attending.